The hall was enormous, stretching higher than any building on Earth, with walls that shimmered in colors no human name could capture. The light floated through the room like it had a mind of its own, bending and folding, casting dancing shadows over the gathered crowd. Hundreds of species from every corner of the galaxy were present. Some walked on 6 legs, some floated above the floor, some had skin that changed color with their emotions. And all of them, regardless of shape or form, were staring at the center of the hall. There, on a raised platform, stood the alien queen. Her presence was commanding yet sorrowful, radiating a grace that silenced even the most talkative ambassadors. Her daughter, the princess, stood beside her. The girl's appearance was unlike any being most of the assembly had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly like liquid silver, her eyes glowed with a soft golden light, and strange veins of energy pulsed across her arms and neck. She seemed fragile, yet there was power in her stance that was undeniable. The queen's voice filled the hall, calm yet heavy with emotion. "My daughter is ready to meet potential allies. She is of age to choose her own path, to unite with those who would accept her. I ask only fairness, not fear." It studied the princess with its multifaceted eyes, and a chill seemed to run through the hall as it spoke. "Your daughter's energy is unstable. It is dangerous. We cannot accept her." Some gave diplomatic excuses, saying they could not risk alliances that might backfire. Others were blunt, saying the princess was too dangerous, too unpredictable, or too alien to be welcomed anywhere. The queen's face remained composed, but her hands clenched slightly at her sides. The murmurs grew louder, the rejections sharper. The princess felt each word like a physical blow, each refusal twisting the hope in her chest into disappointment. She tried to keep her head high, but the glowing in her eyes flickered like a candle in the wind. She had been prepared for some rejection, but not this. Not from everyone. Not from every species that could decide her future. The weight of the hall's judgment pressed down on her, and she felt the first sting of tears she had fought to hold back. The queen finally raised her hand. Silence fell like a blanket. "Enough," she said. Her voice was steady, but the subtle quiver betrayed her. "If no one wishes to accept my daughter, then perhaps it is my fault. Perhaps I overestimated the courage of the galaxy to see beyond fear. I will accept her." Yet the calm in his posture, the certainty in his eyes, demanded attention. The ambassadors whispered to each other, incredulous. Humans? That species still struggling to explore the stars, the species that some of them considered barely worthy of leaving their home planet. The audacity was astonishing. The queen's eyes widened slightly. She had not expected this. Her daughter looked at the human with wide eyes, unsure if she should feel hope or fear. The human stepped forward. His voice carried across the hall, clear and strong. "I am not here for politics. I am not here for gain. I do not wish to control your daughter or use her power. I only wish to give her the choice she deserves and protection if she wants it." One ambassador, a gelatinous creature that could change its form at will, laughed, a sound like glass breaking. "You, protect her. You are fragile, weak. One of us could destroy you with a thought, and you claim to offer safety." Sometimes courage is stronger than any weapon. The princess's energy was unstable, unpredictable, capable of destruction on a scale that could level entire cities. She could not allow anyone to step forward without knowing the risks. "Very well," the queen said, her voice softening yet carrying authority. "If you wish to stand by her, you must understand what it means. You will witness her power. You will feel its force. If you retreat, you leave not only her fate, but your own dignity behind." He extended a hand toward the princess, steady and calm. "I am not afraid." Even the ambassadors who had rejected her before were frozen in astonishment. None had dared to stand so close, to remain so calm. The princess felt a strange warmth in her chest. It was not fear, not doubt. It was trust. For the first time, she felt that someone saw her as she was, not as a threat or a weapon. She slowed the energy, letting it flow gently around the human rather than against him. When the light dimmed, the human looked at her and smiled, not with arrogance but with simple understanding. "You are not alone," he said softly. The queen's heart trembled. She had seen rulers, warriors, scientists. None had been able to endure even a fraction of her daughter's power. And yet this human, this simple man, had stood firm. Her mind raced. Could it be possible? Could humans, so often underestimated, truly possess the courage and strength that others lacked? The ambassadors were murmuring, some shocked into silence, others whispering warnings to each other. The princess looked around at them, feeling a new confidence bloom inside her. She was not rejected anymore, not entirely. There was at least one being in the galaxy who did not fear her. The human stepped back slightly, giving her space. You are more than the fear they see. Do not let them define who you are. The human returned to his place in the hall, standing humbly among the other delegates. But now he was not ordinary. He was the spark that had changed the air in the room. The other ambassadors shifted uncomfortably, sensing the power of his courage even if they did not understand it fully. The princess turned to her mother. "Mother," she whispered, voice trembling but strong, he is not afraid of me." The light in her eyes glowed brighter, steadier. She did not know what the human's choice would mean for the galaxy, for her own life, or for the queen. But she did know one thing. For the first time, she felt wanted. And in a universe that had never accepted her before, that feeling was enough to ignite a new kind of hope. The human's bold choice sent ripples through the Galactic Assembly. Ambassadors whispered to each other, shaking their heads in disbelief. A species considered primitive, fragile, barely able to navigate the stars without help, had dared to face the daughter of the alien queen. Some murmured warnings, others simply stared, unable to look away from the unfolding scene. The queen remained composed, though inside, a storm of curiosity and caution swirled. She had seen humans before, but always from a distance. They had a reputation for unpredictability, for stubbornness, and for surprising courage, but she had never witnessed it personally. This human was different. He did not seek favor, nor did he speak of power. He simply chose to stand. After the assembly ended, the queen took her daughter aside. "You have seen him," she said softly. "Why do you trust him so quickly? They cannot withstand energy like yours for long. But courage can make up for what strength lacks." "If I may speak," he said politely, "I do not wish to claim her or to make decisions for her. I only wish to walk with her to help her learn to control her power safely. If she chooses, we can work together." There was no deception in his words, no hidden agenda, only a desire to stand beside the princess. "Very well," she said finally. "You may accompany her, but know this, if you fail, if you show weakness, it could cost both your life and hers. Do not misunderstand the gravity of this choice." "We leave now?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes," the queen said. "We will go to human territory. There your powers can be observed safely. There you can learn to control them without harm to others. And if the humans are capable, you may find allies who understand more than fear." Their ship moved faster than the eye could follow, cutting through stars and nebulae with grace. The princess sat quietly, watching the lights outside the viewport. She had never imagined traveling with someone who did not fear her, someone who did not recoil at her glow or her trembling energy. The human noticed her silence. "Do you wish to speak?" he asked gently. I have always been afraid," she admitted. "Afraid of my power, afraid of hurting someone, afraid that no one would ever accept me." "Why would a human do this for me? You could be risking everything. Your life, your people, why?" Even the queen had not spoken like that. For the first time, she felt hope that her life could be more than fear, more than isolation. When they arrived in human space, the difference was immediate. Human cities were chaotic, bright, and alive with movement. The air smelled different, the gravity felt different, and yet there was a sense of order amidst the chaos. Humans were everywhere, moving with purpose, talking, laughing, arguing, and yet cooperating in ways that surprised the princess. The human led her to a secure facility, specially prepared for energy study and training. Machines lined the walls, glowing softly, and human scientists worked quietly, aware of the princess's arrival but not treating her as a spectacle. "Here," the human said, gesturing to the training area, "you can learn to control your powers safely. You are not a weapon here, you are a student, and I will be with you every step of the way." Normally it would have caused alarms, but the human calmly held his ground, offering only encouragement. "Slowly," he said. "Feel it, understand it, do not fight it, and it will not fight you." For the first time, she realized that control was possible, not because she had learned a new technique, but because someone believed in her ability to succeed. Days passed. Each day, the princess practiced under human guidance, learning small techniques to manage her energy, to focus it, to release it without fear. The human never once judged her, never once scolded her for mistakes. Instead, he taught her patience, observation, and understanding. Other humans watched her with curiosity, some with caution, but none mocked her, none fled in terror. Slowly, the princess began to trust them, to trust herself. She learned that humans were not the fragile, weak creatures the galaxy often claimed. They had courage, ingenuity, and compassion in ways that were different from her own species, but no less powerful. One evening, as the sun set over the city outside, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, the princess asked the human, "Do you think the galaxy will ever see humans as more than weaklings? Humans survive where others fail. Humans fight where others hide, and humans protect what matters even when the odds are impossible." Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the queen observed from her ship. She had expected humans to be limited, unprepared, fragile, yet what she had seen was different. They were resourceful, united, and surprisingly strong in ways her daughter needed most. Her heart swelled with cautious hope. Perhaps the decision to trust the human was not foolish, but wise. Perhaps the galaxy was ready to witness something new, a partnership not based on fear or power, but on choice, courage, and understanding. The princess continued to train, her confidence growing with each passing day. She discovered that energy could flow through her without harming others. She learned to release bursts of light and force with precision. And every time she succeeded, the human was there, quietly proud but never boastful, offering reassurance instead of praise. One night, as the princess floated above the training room, releasing a controlled wave of energy, she realized something profound. Her power was not a curse, it was a part of her. And for the first time, she felt that she could belong somewhere, that she could be more than a source of fear or rejection. She landed lightly on the floor, her glowing eyes meeting the human's. "Thank you," she said softly, "for believing in me. That is the real strength." Inside, the princess and the human continued their lessons. She practiced control, focus, and strategy. He taught her about human resilience, about loyalty, about the power of choices. Slowly, her fear faded, replaced by determination. She was no longer the princess everyone had rejected. She was a being capable of great power, guided by trust, courage, and understanding. And somewhere deep inside, she realized that she was beginning to see the galaxy differently too. Not as a place filled with fear and rejection, but as a place that could be changed. One choice, one act of courage, one human at a time. The princess woke to the soft hum of the city beyond the walls of the human facility. The sunlight streamed through the windows, painting the floor with golden streaks, and the air smelled faintly of machines, metal, and fresh life. She stretched and glanced at the human sitting across the room, reviewing notes on a small tablet. His brow furrowed slightly, but his calm presence filled the room more than any words could. "Good morning," he said without looking up. "Did you sleep well?" They had been together for days, training, observing, learning. At first, she had been hesitant, unsure of why a human would take such a risk. But now she could see the truth. Humans were not strong in the way alien empires expected, yet they had a strength of heart, of courage, that could not be measured by weapons or energy alone. The human gestured toward a training area where several machines had been set up to test her abilities. "Today, we try something new," he said. "You have learned to control your energy in small bursts. Now we will see if you can focus it into a stable form for a longer time." Yet something in the human's calm voice reassured her. "I will try," she said softly. The next hour passed in concentration and small successes. Each attempt was harder than the last, but the human never pushed her too far. He offered guidance, not orders. He showed her how to breathe, how to think of her energy as part of her own body, not a weapon aimed at others. Slowly, she began to feel a connection, a flow between her thoughts and her power that she had never experienced before. When she finally succeeded in maintaining a steady energy flow for an entire cycle of the training program, she looked at the human with disbelief. "I did it," she whispered. He nodded, smiling. "Yes, you did. And this is just the beginning." That afternoon, the human took her outside the facility. The city stretched endlessly, with buildings that seemed to touch the sky and streets alive with humans moving in coordinated chaos. Vehicles flew above, others moved swiftly along the ground, and everywhere she looked, life pulsed with energy and purpose. "This is human society," he said. "Not perfect, not flawless, but alive. You can learn much by observing it. Humans thrive not because they are the strongest, but because they adapt, because they fight for each other, because they create bonds that even power cannot break." The human beside her explained, "They have heard of you, but humans respect courage. They will not judge you for who you are, they are too busy surviving themselves." It was a strength she had never witnessed in alien species, whose civilizations often relied solely on power, fear, or technology to dominate. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in deep reds and purples, the princess and the human returned to the facility. There, more humans had gathered to observe her training. Scientists, engineers, and even a few military advisors watched quietly, taking notes and preparing for potential challenges. "Do not worry about them," the human said softly. "They are learning too. Humanity thrives when we understand what we face. They will see that you are not a threat, only a student learning to control her own abilities." She began experimenting, creating small constructs of light, manipulating the energy to form shapes and patterns that had no destructive purpose, only beauty. One evening, the human spoke to her about the galaxy beyond human space. "Other species have underestimated humans for centuries. They believe we are weak, unprepared, easy to manipulate. But what they do not understand is that humans have something more powerful than any technology or weapon: resilience, courage, loyalty, and the willingness to protect what matters even when the odds are against us." They had measured her by her power alone, not by her choices, her heart, or her potential. But humans measured differently. They saw strength in persistence, in standing firm, in protecting others without seeking reward. Days turned into weeks, and the princess began venturing outside the facility more frequently. She walked through the city, observed schools, markets, and workshops. She noticed humans working together, solving problems through collaboration, debate, and empathy. Unlike many alien species she had met, humans did not rely solely on strength or dominance. They relied on connection, understanding, and the courage to act even when the outcome was uncertain. She began to understand something profound. Her power was not a curse, as she had been told, but a tool. A gift, and with the right guidance, she could use it not to frighten or dominate, but to protect, to inspire, to create. One afternoon, as she practiced controlling a concentrated wave of energy in the training room, the human entered quietly. "You are improving faster than I expected," he said. "But remember, control is only part of the lesson. Understanding the consequences of your actions, anticipating the responses of others, that is just as important. That is what makes humans strong, and it is what will make you strong too." Yet reports returned of her progress, her calm demeanor, and the human's guidance. Some spies noted their surprise that the princess's powers were stabilizing without advanced alien technology, simply through understanding, trust, and patience. The queen, observing from afar, could hardly believe what she saw. Her daughter, feared by the galaxy, was not only surviving among humans but thriving. And humans, whom she had underestimated herself, were proving capable of something extraordinary. Courage, empathy, and intelligence, not sheer power, were shaping the princess into someone the galaxy would have to respect. One evening, the princess confided in the human as they watched the city lights flicker in the distance. "I never imagined that humans could be so different. Strong in ways I could not understand before. You are beginning to see what makes us strong, and in time you will see it in yourself too." She was learning to be someone who could choose her path, who could embrace her power without fear, who could stand as herself without hiding. And the human, quiet and steady, remained her guide, her anchor, and her example. He had chosen to stand with her when no one else would, and in doing so, he had changed not only her life but the way she would see the galaxy forever. Outside, the city pulsed with life. Ships glided through the sky, humans moved with purpose, and the princess realized she was no longer afraid. She was learning, growing, and preparing for the challenges ahead. The galaxy would not accept her easily, but with humans by her side, she would no longer face it alone. And somewhere deep in her heart, she knew this: courage was contagious. One human had dared to stand, and that choice had opened a path not just for her, but for the possibility of a new kind of understanding between species. A path where fear no longer ruled, and where strength could be measured by the choices one made, not the weapons one wielded. The princess looked at the human beside her, her glowing eyes steady. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." She was a force to be reckoned with, a being learning to embrace her power and herself. And with humans by her side, she was ready for whatever the galaxy would send next. The peaceful days of training and learning did not last long. Across the galaxy, word of the princess and her human companion spread faster than the queen could have anticipated. Alien species who had once rejected her now watched with growing concern. Her powers, once feared as a threat, were no longer uncontrollable. She was learning to channel them with precision and calm, under the guidance of a human from a species most considered weak. Some of the more aggressive empires began to see opportunity. If the princess could be captured, they could claim the energy she held as a weapon. If humans could be broken, the galaxy could reinforce its dominance. A coalition of rival species quietly mobilized, sending spies and scouts to observe human space. They calculated carefully, confident that humans were still fragile, still unpredictable, and that the princess would remain a prize to be seized. But they had underestimated humans entirely. The princess continued her lessons, unaware at first of the looming threat. She had grown comfortable in human society, walking through streets, observing culture, and learning the nuances of human interaction. She practiced controlling her energy in the open, creating light constructs that glimmered above the city streets, delighting the humans who witnessed them. For the first time in her life, she felt accepted, not feared. The human observed her closely during these exercises, offering guidance and encouragement. "Remember," he said one afternoon as they stood on a terrace overlooking the city, "control is important, but awareness is what will keep you safe. You must understand how others see you, anticipate their reactions, and act responsibly. What if someone comes to take me away?" Red lights flashed across the sky and automated defense systems activated. The princess and the human ran to the facility's observation deck, where the city's central command monitors displayed incoming ships, alien warships, sleek and menacing, moving at speeds far beyond normal traffic. "They are coming for her," the human said calmly, though his eyes were sharp and focused. "They underestimated humans. They believed we could not protect you. We defend, we adapt, and we stand together." The princess felt her energy stir within her. Normally, she would have panicked, her powers surging uncontrollably. But now, with the human by her side, she felt focus, calm, control. She lifted her hands, directing a barrier of light and energy around the facility. The force pulsed outward, strong enough to deflect the first wave of alien weapons. The human guided her movements, calmly calling out observations. "Lower your left pulse, stabilize your right flow, concentrate on the center, not the edges, trust yourself." The human and the humans around them coordinated responses, creating a network of defenses that complemented the princess's power. The attacking forces grew frustrated. They had expected an easy capture, but instead, they faced a species they had underestimated. Humans fought not with sheer power, but with strategy, unity, and courage. Each attempt to breach the city was met with organized resistance, and the princess's controlled energy became a focal point of their defense. As the battle continued, the princess realized something extraordinary. She could use her energy not only to block attacks, but to protect and guide others. She formed beams of light that acted as shields over human defenders, directing them to safer positions. She created pulses that pushed alien ships back without destroying them, minimizing harm while maximizing control. The human watched her, pride evident in his eyes. "See what you are capable of," he said. "You are not just defending yourself. You are defending everyone who cannot defend themselves. That is real strength." Every calculated move, every act of bravery by humans amplified the princess's confidence and control. Finally, after a prolonged engagement, the aliens retreated. Their ships turned, fleeing into space, leaving behind a stunned but victorious human city. The princess collapsed to the ground, exhausted but triumphant. The human knelt beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he said. "You faced them and you did not falter. I am beginning to understand, and I am beginning to trust myself." The galaxy was beginning to notice that strength was not measured solely by raw power or energy, but by the will to protect, the ability to adapt, and the courage to stand together. The queen, observing from a distant ship, could hardly believe her eyes. Her daughter, once feared and rejected, had not only survived among humans, but had thrived. She had learned control, courage, and wisdom under the guidance of a human who had chosen to stand with her when no one else would. The princess herself began to see a new future. The galaxy could no longer dictate her fate with fear or prejudice. She could choose her own path, guided by understanding, courage, and the humans who had shown her what real strength meant. In the days that followed, the princess continued to train and grow. She walked among humans, learning not only how to control her energy, but how to understand the people she now considered allies. She saw their compassion, their determination, and their resilience. She realized that humans had not only survived against greater powers. They had thrived because they acted together, because they did not give up, because they valued each other and the choices they made. The human companion remained at her side, a quiet guide, teacher, and friend. He encouraged her to experiment with her abilities, to use her energy in creative and constructive ways, and to always consider the consequences of her actions. One evening, as they watched the sunset over the city, the princess spoke softly. "I never thought I could feel proud of who I am. I always thought my powers were a curse. But now, I feel like I can be something more." The galaxy had underestimated humans, just as it had underestimated her. Together, they could face challenges that no one else could. Together, they could change perceptions, defy expectations, and create a future where fear no longer ruled. And somewhere deep within, she knew that the choices she had made, the courage she had found, and the humans who had stood with her would shape not only her own destiny, but the destiny of the galaxy itself. The attacks had shown her one undeniable truth. Humans were stronger than anyone had believed, not because of weapons or raw energy, but because they stood together, because they protected each other, and because they never gave up, even when the odds seemed impossible. The princess took a deep breath, feeling her power steady within her, no longer a wild force but a tool of purpose and control. She looked at the human beside her and smiled. "We can do this, can't we?" She had humans who believed in her, a guide who trusted her, and a galaxy that was finally beginning to understand that fear was no longer the measure of power. The future was uncertain, and dangers would surely come again. But the princess had learned something far more important. That courage, understanding, and unity could overcome even the greatest challenges, and that with humans by her side, she was ready for whatever the galaxy might send. The galaxy had changed since the princess had arrived in human space. What had started as fear and rejection now rippled into respect, curiosity, and for some, apprehension. Reports from distant systems circulated through star networks. The princess, once feared and unwanted, now moved with confidence, her energy stable and precise. The humans, long underestimated, had proven their worth not with overwhelming force, but with courage, strategy, and the will to protect what mattered. The alien queen observed her daughter from a distance, aboard her starship. Pride mingled with cautious worry. She had feared humans, a species she considered fragile and untested. Yet what she had seen was different from every assumption she had held. They had adapted, protected, and persevered. They had taught her daughter control, patience, and the courage to stand for herself. Perhaps, she thought, the galaxy had underestimated humanity entirely. Inside the human city, preparations were underway for the princess to make her first public appearance outside the facility. Citizens crowded in open squares and observation decks, curious to witness her fully controlled abilities and the humans who had guided her. There was excitement, but also a quiet reverence. The humans understood that this was not a display of power, but a moment of trust, of unity, and of choice. The princess stood beside her human companion, her golden eyes steady, her energy glowing softly in a controlled aura around her. "Are you ready?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "I am. I have learned more than I ever imagined I could. I will not hide anymore." The princess lifted her hands, and streams of golden energy formed intricate patterns in the air, weaving through the open space without harm. Light floated above the humans, a symbol of her control and her willingness to share her power, not as a weapon, but as a bridge. The humans clapped and cheered quietly, not out of fear, but admiration. The princess felt warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she realized that being seen, being accepted, and being valued did not require her to hide or fight anyone. It required courage, trust, and understanding, and humans had shown her all three. Then a signal arrived from the queen. Her ship descended slowly, calm, and deliberate. She stepped onto the platform beside the princess, her expression unreadable at first. But as her eyes met her daughter's steady gaze, pride and relief softened her features. "You have grown," the queen said softly. "You have learned control, courage, and trust. I see now that my fear was not yours to bear alone. The humans, they have taught you, and through you, they have shown the galaxy something remarkable. Mother, I am not alone anymore. Humans have stood with me, guided me, and helped me see that power without understanding is nothing. I am ready to choose my own path. Courage, loyalty, and compassion are forces that can reshape worlds." Silence filled the square as she addressed them. "Behold the princess of my line. She has faced fear and rejection, and yet she has emerged stronger. She has learned not from domination, but from trust, and she has done so among humans, a species you all underestimated. Take note, strength comes in many forms, and those who stand with courage are never weak." Many aliens could hardly believe what they were witnessing. A species they had dismissed, a human man guiding a powerful alien princess, had defied every expectation. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not fragile, that courage could surpass power, and that loyalty and unity could change the course of events faster than weapons or strategy alone. The princess raised her hands again, this time forming a bridge of light connecting the humans and the alien delegates. "I have a choice," she said, her voice carrying across the square. "And my choice is to stand for understanding, for protection, and for unity. I will no longer be defined by fear. I will define myself, and I choose to do it with humans by my side, not as masters or servants, but as allies, as friends, as equals." They had protected the princess and guided her to this moment, and in doing so they had reshaped how the galaxy would see humans forever. The queen stepped closer to her daughter, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You have become someone remarkable," she said. "I see now that the galaxy has much to learn from humans. They are not weak. They are not primitive. They are guardians, capable of courage, wisdom, and sacrifice beyond measure. You have chosen well." Her power was no longer a curse, but a symbol of choice, courage, and unity. The human beside her spoke softly. "The galaxy underestimated us, underestimated you, underestimated what can happen when people stand together. But they will not make that mistake again. Humans have shown me that strength comes from courage, trust, and loyalty. I will use that to shape a future where no one is unwanted." And humanity, it seems, has all three in abundance. And now they saw a new truth. Humans were not to be underestimated, and the princess had chosen to stand with them willingly, not out of coercion, but out of understanding and trust. The princess looked at the human, gratitude and pride shining in her eyes. "You stood with me when no one else would," she said softly. "You taught me to trust myself, to see the strength in courage, and to understand that power without control is meaningless. You chose this path yourself, and in doing so, you have shown the galaxy what humans can do." The light spread outward, not as a weapon, but as a symbol of what could be achieved when fear was replaced by understanding. And far across the galaxy, species that had once dismissed humans began to reconsider. The reports were clear. Humans, long underestimated, had protected a powerful princess, helped her control her abilities, and stood as equals against any threat. The perception of humanity shifted in that moment. No longer weak or fragile, humans were now seen as capable, resilient, and courageous. The queen turned to her daughter, pride shining in her eyes. "You have not only proven yourself, but you have shown the galaxy the value of humans. I am grateful for their guidance and for your courage. The galaxy will not define you by fear, but by courage, and humans will be there to ensure that truth is respected." And a species that had been underestimated for centuries had shown that courage, loyalty, and unity could change the course of history. The princess looked around at the humans who had stood by her, their faces calm, determined, and proud. She understood now that strength was not just about energy, weapons, or reputation. Strength was about the choices one made, the courage to stand when others fled, and the willingness to protect those who could not protect themselves. The queen placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder once more. "The galaxy may never forget this day. You have shown them and shown me that humanity's greatest power is their heart. We have all learned something here. You, the galaxy, and even I, and together, we will continue to show that being underestimated is never the end, but the beginning of something greater." The princess's energy pulsed gently, no longer wild, no longer dangerous, but calm, controlled, and beautiful, a reflection of the courage and unity that had brought her to this moment. And as the stars appeared above, glittering like distant possibilities, the princess, the queen, and the humans understood one truth clearly. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, but that underestimation had given rise to something extraordinary. Together, they had rewritten expectations, proven courage, and shown that being different, being human, and being willing to stand for others was the most powerful force in the universe. For the princess, the journey had begun as rejection, fear, and isolation. It ended in trust, control, and unity. And for humanity, the galaxy had finally seen what they had always known. Courage and loyalty could change everything. And in that quiet, glowing moment, the princess knew her life and the future of the galaxy would never be the same.